Hello, welcome to the Black Ponder. I'm Neil Trotter. Today, we're going to be talking about Friedrich Nietzsche's The Gay Science. And this particularly common edition is translated, with commentary mind you, by Walter Kaufmann. Now, I find that Friedrich Nietzsche, he's like one of those polarizing figures in philosophy. A lot of people come in with strong predispositions, and they use Nietzsche, or they cite him, or quote him, and to support their predispositions. A lot of people who are into philosophy, that root their philosophy in atheism, use Friedrich Nietzsche as kind of a poster child. A lot of those kinds of people consider Nietzsche their hero, taking a lot of his quotes like "God is dead, we have killed him," and the Uberman, and talking about, even though the Uberman is more so with "Thus spoke Zarathustra," that work. But yeah, he does begin to mention that in The Gay Science. Likewise, I actually know a lot of people who are not into philosophy at all, who believe philosophy is a detriment to society, especially existentialism, and they use Nietzsche, they quote him and cite him to try and prove that position. Because a lot of people say Nietzsche, who's into nihilism, he believes life is inherently meaningless, which actually is not true. But they say this, and see, that's why existentialism, that's this wrong point of view, because it's promoting this irresponsibility. This idea is nothing is meaningless, so why should you do anything in life? Why should you achieve anything in life if everything is meaningless already? You're not inspired to do good in the world. They quote Friedrich Nietzsche like, yeah, this is why I feel this way, and he's a perfect example why I'm not into philosophy, right? But really, you're just kind of stuck in your predispositions, and it's easy to do so when you start checking out Friedrich Nietzsche. But you also miss a lot of the value of Friedrich Nietzsche, particularly The Gay Science, when you come in without an open mind. I encourage you, if you're going to read The Gay Science, and you should, I enjoyed it, it was a great work in my opinion, you should come in with an open mind. Right, you really should come in. Your mind should be like as transparent as a crystal, right? If your philosophy stems from strong atheism, just put that aside right quick and just be like, okay, what does this man try to say? What does this man try to tell me? Same thing if you have really strong religious beliefs. Put that aside. Don't dismiss those things. Don't dismiss them altogether, but don't allow them to take over your emotional standpoint when you start reading The Gay Science, because that's very easy to do. A lot of people misinterpret what Friedrich Nietzsche says, or they'll quote Nietzsche and they'll take what he says out of context. And partly, it is due to people not having an open mind, or just already having a predisposition before they even start reading Nietzsche. But I also think a lot of the reason why that is the case is because of Nietzsche's writing style, actually. The Gay Science in particular, it's written very artistically. There's a lot of prose. There's also a lot of poetry as shown here, with prelude and rhymes and an appendix and songs. Right? There's a lot of that. By the way, he added the rhymes and the songs in his second edition, which was released in 1887. The first edition, which did not include poetry, was written in 1882. That was the year the Gay Science was first published. But even the prose is very artistically written, and it's actually very beautiful. I personally feel The Gay Science is very beautifully written, but it also could be almost too beautifully written. Like, it becomes kind of artsy-fartsy, if you're familiar with the term. Nietzsche had a very strong position in his philosophy, and he's trying to bring that out there. And The Gay Science is commonly referred to as Nietzsche's most personal work, and that is most certainly true. You could tell by the emotion that was put behind the words. The writing style is so emotional and it's so artistic. It's very easy to misinterpret what he said, because he doesn't really, in my opinion, my view, he doesn't put as much effort explaining his points of view as he does trying to make his writing style artistic. It's almost like he's posing an argument to you, like, this is my point of view, and he's trying to convince you of that point of view by making the writing style as artistic as possible. rather than just explaining, using examples and using logic or reason. But if you read The Birth of Tragedy, you'll know like Friedrich Nietzsche's position on using logic and reason to speak about philosophy is kind of, he's more opposed to that, and he's more into like, okay, real meaning comes from art and emotion. So he definitely sticks by that with when he writes The Gay Science. But I don't know, it didn't catch me. I'm gonna be honest with you. The Gay Science, a lot of what he said, I disagreed with, and several things he said I do agree with, but a lot of what he said I disagreed with, and I felt he left me hanging. He left me kind of hanging with this artsy fartsy type of explanation. It's like, okay, you're saying all this, and I don't agree. He didn't do a good enough job explaining his point of view, at least my opinion. So I think because of that, it is easy to misinterpret what he's saying. A lot of people, they go on their high horse and say, well, you're misinterpreting what Friedrich Nietzsche is saying. Like, for example, that famous quote of Nietzsche's, "God is dead," comes from this work. A lot of people misinterpret that as a completely atheistic quote. It's stemming completely from atheism. A lot of people misinterpret it, and then they use that as a way to, they use that quote as like almost an anthem to atheism. And that's not particularly what Nietzsche's intention was with that quote, but I hear a lot of people on their high horses saying, yeah, these people, they don't understand what Nietzsche's saying, and they misinterpret that, and that's a shame. But at the same time, Nietzsche, he was an atheist, obviously, and that he talks about religion a lot. He's very against it. It's quite obvious in The Gay Science. So it's easy to misinterpret that. Like, it's hard to kind of blame somebody for reading that, to thinking like, yeah, I could. You're basically this is a call to atheism, which it's not necessarily a call to atheism, but I would say it's easy to misinterpret it that way. And let me read you the quote. Not the first time it's mentioned. I'll read you the second time it's mentioned, because the first time it's mentioned, he just kind of comes, he just says God is dead out of nowhere, and it's like, and then he just moves on to the next topic, and it's like, okay, where'd that come from? It's almost like he was just trying to say that to be cool, or just kind of like shock value you, right? Let me share with you the quote when he brings it up again. He kind of elaborates more, but not really. Listen to this. The madman. Have you not heard of that madman who lit a lantern in the bright morning hours, ran to the marketplace and cried incessantly, I seek God, I seek God. As many of those who did not believe in God were standing around just then, he provoked much laughter. Has he got lost? Asked one. Did he lose his way like a child? Asked another. Or is he hiding? Is he afraid of us? Has he gone on a voyage? Immigrated? Thus they yelled and laughed. The madman jumped into their midst and pierced them with his eyes. Whither is God? He cried. I will tell you. We have killed him. You and I. All of us are his murderers. But how did we do this? How could we drink up the sea? Who gave us the sponge to wipe away the entire horizon? What were we doing when we unchained this earth from its sun? Whither is it moving now? Whither are we moving? Away from all suds? Are we not plunging continually? Backward, sideward, forward, in all directions? Is there still any up or down? Are we not staying as through an infinite nothing? Do we not feel the breath of empty space? Has it not become colder? Is it not night continually closing in on us? Do we not need to light lanterns in the morning? Do we hear nothing as yet of the noise of the gravediggers who are burying God? Do we smell nothing as yet of the divine decomposition? Gods too decompose. God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. And it just keeps going. They just start asking questions. Is this not the case? Is this not this? Is this not that? And he starts going on to the fact, like, since he is dead, this is the current state of existence. But, I was waiting for, like, okay, you killed him. How? How did you kill him? you know, and you know, I'm trying to look for more of what does it mean that God is dead. I mean, Friedrich Nietzsche does elaborate a lot on what that means, and I'll go into that. But a lot of the artistic style of his writing gets in the way, I think. And you know, it just kind of left me hanging, to be quite honest with you. And I'm not convinced. You know, I'm really not good. He didn't pose a convincing enough argument to me. Now, you know, granted, I am a religious person. I grew up religious, but I am open to what, you know, your argument, what you have to say. Like, okay, you know, if you were to pose to me like this, God is dead, this is why I think so. I'm like, okay, man, that's a strong argument. You know, I get where you're coming from, and you know, I respect that opinion. And you know, you posed a lot of good reasoning behind that, which, you know, I can see where you're coming from. But with the Nietzsche, I don't see it. I'm not convinced that his argument is strong enough for somebody to read this and say like, oh yeah, I see where you're coming from. Like, this is gonna make me believe that God truly is dead. Like, I can see you like already believing that from the beginning, and then reading this book after you believe in that and say like, oh yeah, now I actually have a artistic way to elaborate what I have to feel. But if you have no predisposition, like maybe you're in the middle or on the fence, I don't know if this is gonna sway you at either side, whether you are religious or not. But we could go into why Nietzsche thinks that God is dead. I mean, he does an attempt to explain that. And basically what he says is like, religion is what man used when he was immature. It's almost like a child or a juvenile way of living. As man matures or becomes greater, he realizes that he no longer needs religion to operate in a meaningful way. He can operate on a meaningful way on his own. Man's awakening to that kills like God, but not God specifically, the idea of God. Let me read from you a quote that kind of supports that what I just said. They too promote the life of the species by promoting the faith in life. Life is worth living. Every one of them shouts. There is something to life. There is something behind life, beneath it. Beware. From time to time, this instinct, which is at work equally in the highest and the basest men, the instinct of preservation of the species, erupts as reason and as passion of the spirit. Then it is surrounded by a resplendent retinue of reasons and tries with all the force at its command to make us forget that at bottom it is instinct, drive, folly, lack of reasons. Life shall be loved because man shall advance himself in his neighbor because what names all these shalls and becauses receive and may yet receive in the future. In order that weep happens necessarily and always, spontaneously and without any purpose, may henceforth appear to be done for some purpose and strike man as rational and an ultimate commandment. The ethical teacher comes on stage as a teacher of the purpose of existence, and to this end he invents a second, different existence, and unhinges by means of his new mechanics the old ordinary existence. Then let me skip ahead a little bit. Gradually, man has become a fantastic animal that has to fulfill one more condition of existence than any other animal. Man has to believe, to know from time to time why he exists. His race cannot flourish with a periodic trust in life, without faith in reason in life. Nietzsche basically is saying that faith is just this instinctive response to survival of the species. The human beings innately, instinctively need to have meaning in life to operate, to function. So it's almost like an animalistic drive for us to search for religion. But again, it's like animalistic, right? This is Nietzsche's argument. It's instinctive. It doesn't represent like a higher level of living, a realization that what religion is just a response to our instinctive animalistic drive. And in that way, like I was saying before, Nietzsche's saying it's an immature way of living, a religious life. You're almost living like an animal in a sense. And again, I'm not really convinced of that. I mean, that's, Nietzsche's point of view. And you can bring up plenty of examples of religious people who do live like animals. There are a bunch of religious people that do act in that way, just off instinctive drive. They kind of don't really use religion in a meaningful way. But then there's plenty of examples of people who have used religion and have transcended beyond, not only beyond an animalistic way of life, but almost beyond almost a human type of way of life, almost a meta-human existence. I'm talking about people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, a lot of those kinds of people rooted their philosophies and their activism in religious belief. And if it was not for that belief, they would not have the strength to achieve the things that they did. I would imagine Nietzsche's argument to that would be that, that's people like that. That's a perfect example of man acting as animal for the survival of the species, because ultimately they helped the species to survive by doing those things, right? By promoting civil rights and promoting peace and pacifism and all that type of points of view. In that way, they exactly used religion to help the species survive in that way. But I don't buy it. I really don't buy it, because I see all the time religious people who kind of use their belief to rise above their holistic natures, right? And at the same time, I do see a lot of religious people, other religious people, kind of using religion to descend toward the depths of humanity, right? But that's the same thing with non-religious people. I know a lot of non-religious people who use their beliefs, and they're deplorable human beings or almost animals. But then there's other people who are not religious, and they kind of transcend above all that, and they live meaningful existences. Basically, what I'm doing here is I'm posing a lot of question marks or counter examples to what Nietzsche is saying. To me, his argument isn't strong enough in the gay science. It is very personal, and I would argue is a little bit too personal. And I could do this all day, right? I could just read quotes, which I've highlighted, which I felt were very artistic and eloquently said, but I disagree with, and I could just read a quote and then start telling you why I disagree with it. But rather than do that, because that's not really too much point in that, right? I will tell you the things that spoke out to me, things that I resonated with, because there are several things I did resonate with. But I want to specifically focus on that quote, "God is dead and we have killed him," right? What do I think what can I take away from that? Because I think it is a worthy quote, even though maybe it's not said in the best way. You can easily misinterpret that. What I take from that is this idea that what you believe in should be rooted in your own convictions, not the convictions of somebody else. If you go out there in the world and you discover on your own God, and you believe that God does exist based off of your own convictions, then I think that goes along the lines of what Nietzsche's talking about. Now, you might disagree. That's fine. That's fine. But that's what I believe. What I take for the quote is, because there's a lot of people who believe in God, but they don't really believe in God. They don't really have strong convictions. Basically, they believe in God because somebody else told them they believe in God. Or maybe they were raised to believe in God, right? From what I take is what Nietzsche's saying is don't believe in God or anything, or don't be an atheist or an agnostic or whatever your point of view. Don't have a belief system or a lack of a belief system. If you really are believe in nihilism, if that's what you believe, don't believe that because somebody told you that or that's how you were raised. Really go into a discovery of your own and start really thinking about why you believe in what you believe in. If you're a religious person, or if you're a Christian, then you probably should read the Bible. At least you should read the Bible. Most Christians don't really read the Bible, or they've never read the Bible before, which is pretty sad, to be quite honest with you. It's pretty sad because you should read it, and then after you read that, you need to say like, look, okay, does this really resonate with me, or does this not resonate with me? Then what you believe in becomes strong. It becomes meaningful. You're rooting in yourself rather than rooting in society or what somebody else tells you or what your parents told you, because that's weak and almost in a way is meaningless. Same thing with if you're like an atheist, for example. This is just another example. And the reason why you're atheist is because you had bad experiences with Christians. Like, oh, I've had bad experiences with Christians, therefore I'm an atheist. But don't base your whole belief system off of what other people have done to you. I mean, that could be part of it, but that shouldn't be 100% of it. Go off on your own and really look and examine and think about why you believe in what you believe. If you believe there's no God, why is that the case? Really think about it, and then you'll be strong in your conviction. Basically, whatever you believe in, discover it. Go out and discover it on your own, and don't rely on other people or other things, outside influences, to sway your belief system, because your belief system is very important to you. It matters a lot, and you need to discover it on your own for your belief system to start to really become meaningful. And in that way, you can start to have a positive impact or influence in life. Let me leave you with this quote. This quote really resonated with me. The ability to contradict. Everybody knows nowadays that the ability to accept criticism and contradiction is a sign of high culture. Some people actually realize that higher human beings desire and provoke contradiction in order to receive some hint about their own injustices, of which they are as yet unaware. But the ability to contradict, to the attainment of a good conscience, when one feels hostile to what is accustomed, traditional, and hallowed, that is still more excellent and constitutes what is really great, new, and amazing in our culture. This is a step of steps of the liberated spirit. Who knows that? So go out there and discover meaning on your own. Discover meaning. Be open to contradiction, be open to criticism, and build that belief system of yours, whatever that belief system may be. Whether it's religious, atheistic, agnostic, rooted entirely in science. Go out there, meet different people, different points of views, different perspectives, and discover the meaning behind what you believe in. And in that way, you can build a solid foundation to live your life with meaning. That's what I took away from the gay science. But have you read the gay science? Am I completely off? You probably would think so. I think I took it away that a lot of people wouldn't have taken it. Comment below. Let me know. Or not. Whatever. You can do whatever you want. But, I enjoyed the gay science. It didn't really resonate with me, to be quite honest with you, for the most part. But I did get some strong takeaways from it. So, it's worth reading. But go read it with an open mind. Open your mind like a crystal. That's the only way you're going to get value. Don't get caught up in your predispositions. You've been watching The Black Ponder. I'm Neil Trotter. Tune in next time for more philosophical thought.